This is Debbie from Be Live, and today I want to offer you a talk on holistic health and diet stress. How to create a healthy relationship with food and how to start eating healthy. Now, I think this is a topic in a lot of our lives, especially nowadays with the loads of information out there, the confusion. It's just an overload of information, and it's hard to know whether it's true or not true, etc., etc. There is a lot of different diets, and it seems like everyone holds the true diet that's going to give you all the health benefits, whether it's just health benefits, losing weight, whatever it is. So I am hoping to shed a little bit of light on that and how I went through that process myself and what I think can be of huge value to you. So I'm just going to start talking, and I hope it's going to be of great value to you. So for me, just to give a little bit more context, I really started diving into the aspect of healthy food over a decade ago, and I had to because I was struggling with the chronic urinary tract infection. So my urinary tract infection got so bad that it climbed up to my kidneys really fast. So then I would have to rush off to the hospital. And I struggled with that for many years, and all the antibiotics that I was given actually made it worse because it destroyed my gut microbiome. It made the UTI come back faster and more aggressively. So at one point I knew I had to flip a switch and change something drastically, and for some reason intuitively I felt this had to start with my diet. So I went on this huge journey, and I've experienced, like I said, for over a decade with all different kinds of food, diets, you name it. And along the way, I discovered not only what was a healthy diet for me, but also how to form it. And that I want to give you some guidelines and some tips that might be useful for you if you're on your own journey to a more healthy diet. So there's a few aspects I want to go over in this video, and I hope it's not going to be too long. So I might make additional videos if there's interest in that. And but I'll just start off with some general guidelines that I think can be helpful for anyone that's starting out this journey towards more healthy food, and how to approach it holistically, because that for me has been a game changer. So to start off with that, holistic health. So what do I mean with that? So with holistic health, I mean as you look at the whole of something and not just at the individual parts. So to me, I view the world as everything is connected. And so the more connection you can find in your life, whether it's to your own body, whether it's to your environment, the people around you, the more connection you can find, the healthier you can become. Now the first aspect of this, when we look at food, would be to look at where's our food coming from. So for me, this would be the first tip when you start to create a healthier diet for yourself, is to ask yourself, what are your personal values and how can you use those values to help you create a healthier diet for yourself. So one of my values and beliefs is that if food is healthy for the planet, it's going to be healthier for me. Because like I said, everything is connected. So that's where I start. So I start to look at, okay, maybe what am I eating now and what can I change in my current diet so that it actually aligns with my values more. And when you start living more aligned to your own values, you're also more connected to yourself. So this will have an effect that will ripple out, and that is the thing that I've noticed taking a holistic approach in life, is it will ripple out to all other areas of your life, and everything will start to make more sense to you. So this is why I want to gently invite you into this world, and if it resonates with you, keep watching to the end. So I want to give you an example that actually inspired me to make this video today, and that's I received a question, and the question was, what is healthier, cow's milk, almond milk, or soy milk? Now this question was asked to several people, and a lot of people immediately jumped to a conclusion that is probably coming from a belief they have. So on this journey towards a healthy diet for you, I would like to invite you to let go of any beliefs that you might have, and to see if you can create the space in your mind to be open and to think for yourself and to see what makes sense for you, because everybody's body is different. So that's one thing that I have, that like you could call it an issue I have with all the different diets that are out there, is that, you know, one diet I think can never serve everyone, and I will go into a little bit more explanation about that later on. So I want you to keep an open mind, and I think that's one of the hurdles we're facing, is that because of our strong beliefs, and it creates extremism and it creates separation, and that might make us attracted to a certain diet, or it might pull us away from a certain diet, not for the right reasons, right? Because some people will already run away if you would say the word veganism, because there's so much stigma around it. And so what I like you to invite you to is to leave all the labeling behind. I think this is very important. I mainly eat plant-based diet, but I don't call myself a vegan, because there are certain instances where I will pick a different food source that is not vegan. So on my journey towards healthy food with a holistic approach, I want you to just be fully open and to take this in and see what resonates with you. So to come back to the question about the milk, for me it is not such an easy answer. Over a decade ago, I probably would have jumped straight to an answer. Right now, no. It's way more nuanced than that. And I'm going to explain to you why by illustrating this. And this might give you some clarity on how you are able to approach it in your own life if you want to adopt this idea. Is that everybody's body is different. So first of all, you want the type of food that agrees with your body. Second of all, for my own value, and I hope this is a value for a lot of people, is we want to create a more healthy planet. So the food source should also be healthy for the planet, and then it's more healthy for you. So when we look at cow's milk, a lot of cow farming is done on large scale, where the cows are treated poorly. They get preventative antibiotics and maybe even hormones, and this means that will all translate into the meat that you eat, which I would say, or the milk that you drink, which I would say is not going to be a very healthy choice. Now on the other hand, you might live in an area where there is sustainable farming around you, and there might be farmers that are offering a sustainably produced milk. Now in that case, if milk agrees with your body and there is a source where it's sustainably produced, milk might actually be the healthiest choice for you. Because when we look at almond milk, a lot of almonds come from the US and come from really dry areas, whereas almond is a tree that needs a lot of water. So right there, it already causes a lot of strain on the environment. So it's not very environmentally friendly. Also, in general, they're sprayed with a lot of chemicals. So is that the type of food you would want to invite into your life if when we're talking about a healthy diet? Now, there will also be almonds that are more sustainably produced. And for example, the almonds that come from Europe come from a totally different environment and are usually more environmentally friendly than the ones from the States. Now, this is something in which you will have to educate yourself. So that is also my invitation to you, is educate yourself. If there are certain foods that you like to incorporate in your diet, please educate yourself and see if you can find out information on like how are they grown and produced and where can I get them and does it align with my values, and do I want to incorporate them. Now the third option was the soy. Now for soy it's the exact same thing. Soy can come from heavily deforested jungles where jungle has to make place for these huge plantations of soy that are used for animal feed and human consumption. And then also there's the GMO aspect. A lot of soy is GMO. But there will also be soy that's more sustainably produced and maybe even organic. And that could be the right choice for you. So all in all, this is why I wanted to illustrate this example, because it really, according to me, doesn't have an easy answer. You have to look at your own circumstances. Where do you live? What's the environment around you? What does it have to offer? And what agrees with your body. Now, this is an approach I have taken, and at the start it might seem overwhelming and complicated because you have to think a lot more about the choices you make around food. But you will see that if you start to adapt this kind of thinking and you align your thinking with your values around food and how you want to live, is that it will become easier and easier over time. Okay, so this is my first suggestion to incorporate if you want to transfer to a more healthy diet. Now, secondly, there is the part of nutrition. And I know this can be a lot to take in as well, especially if you're someone that's considering a plant-based diet, because then there's certain things you have to take into account. But first of all, I would want to say is, we want to start step by step and not take on too much at the same time, and be easy and gentle towards yourself. Because it's not supposed to give you more stress. It's supposed to show you that you want to transfer to a more healthy diet. So give yourself some credit there. And you will get there. And if it takes time, it takes time. When we look at nature and like the beauty that's behind me there, everything takes time. So it's a normal process. It's just that we've gotten so used to this instant gratification, immediate results, and we are also somehow somewhere scared of how others might view us, right? If we say we want to eat plant-based and then one of your friends might see you not do that completely yet. There's no shame in that. It's about the transformation and that we're on a good path. And I'm not saying everybody has to eat plant-based. I'm just giving that as an example, because for some people meat might actually be a really good choice in their diet, and especially if they can get sustainable meat. So the second thing I would want to offer you here today is, instead of immediately trying to figure out all the different nutritions, although it's important, is to simply look at color. Okay, so nature produces all of these beautiful different colors. Now, color also partly stands for nutrition. So with different color foods, you will receive different types of nutrients. So if you first just start off with choosing different colored foods, and then I'm obviously talking about natural colors and not about colors that are added, because that happens as well. I'm talking about natural colors. So don't only go for the greens if you incorporate vegetables in your diet, okay? Try to add a multitude of colors. And that will already increase the amount of different nutrients immensely. Now the third suggestion I would want to give is, looking at it from a holistic perspective, is we can grade everything around us with a certain level of life. Obviously, the nature behind me is very much alive, right? It's connected directly to the soil it grows in. It's growing, it's alive. So the best thing would be is to eat the things that are as close to that as possible. So obviously eating straight from nature, I would consider from a holistic perspective the healthiest, right? So this is the closest also to growing your own food. Now, that might be a step too far for you, I don't know. I would highly recommend it. It's so fulfilling to grow your own foods. But for this video, we'll just keep it by how to choose foods that are right for you. So as to eat more whole foods, foods that you can recognize. Like if I take a broccoli, for example, I can see the broccoli in the store, I can pick it from the shelf and it's recognizable. Whereas in processed foods, a lot of times we don't even recognize the actual initial food in it anymore. We wouldn't be able to see the broccoli anymore. And this is further away from an actual like living thing. So the closer you stay to living food, the healthier it will be, the more nutrients it will provide to you, and so the more alive you can feel. Now, this has been something that has worked incredibly well for me, is to really get away more and more from the processed foods. And if I use processed foods, I like to process them myself. Now, yes, this takes time in the kitchen, you know, preparing foods from scratch, which I've come to love. But I understand that for some people that, you know, might bring up some resistance. But at least if you go to the grocery store, look at the foods that you can recognize and make sure that you start to pick those more and more and more. Okay, so this is basically, you know, how can you start this journey without looking at specific diets? And then why am I saying this? Because I want to make the bridge towards, okay, but then still, how do I know how to form the diet that's good for me when I'm not looking at, you know, diet examples? Is that the fourth aspect would be to listen to yourself more and more and more. And this is the part where you start really forming a relationship with your food and start to connect to your food. And then your body will start telling you what's healthy for you and what's not. Because even if you want to transfer to a plant-based diet, for example, you will find that not every vegetable is going to necessarily be healthy for you. We all have different bacteria in our guts. We all have different metabolisms, so we all have to figure out, like, okay, which foods align with my type, with my body. And you know, a beet might be good for one person but might not agree with you. And this is where the listening part comes in. And because when you eat a diverse amount of food in a day, at first it might be hard. Because what I'd like to suggest is to mainly focus on how you feel after you've eaten a certain food, and even the day after you've eaten this. Now, if you've eaten a lot of different things, that might be harder to figure out, because it might be that you don't feel good the next day, then you're like, this doesn't work for me. But it could be that it's only one specific food you ate that doesn't work for you. So what I did is I went through a period where I eliminated food. So I started to eliminate something that I had a suspicion that I wasn't reacting to very well. I eliminated it for my diet for a certain amount of time and see if it improved. Now again, this is something that takes time, but I'm telling you, it is absolutely worth it. It is worth it. Because when your body feels good and your body feels healthy, your body is able to digest everything, you just start to feel so much more incredible. I used to deal with a lot of bloating where I was in pain continuously. Now, when I started on this journey, and you know, I started to figure out which foods were good for me and which weren't, and my body started to react to that, and it was like I was communicating with my body, and my body started asking me what it needed. the bloating was starting to disappear, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. Like really, this is something I can do myself. I can figure out myself by listening to my body, by trusting my body. So this is, yeah, this has been life-changing for me, and that's why I'm sharing it. And one thing though I want you to realize is whenever you make a transition to a healthier diet, is to take into account where you're at right now. And I know for a lot of us, we would want to shift from one day to the next. It's like we make a decision, okay, we're going to change, and now, whoppa, we're going to change our diet. I would suggest against that. Now, it's your own choice, but I would suggest you to take it slowly. Why? Because we all have a different microbiome, okay? These are the bacteria in your gut. And we want this microbiome, this flora, to be as diverse as possible. But if you, for example, have been eating a highly processed type diet for a long amount of time, then you will have mostly the bacteria in your gut that are able to digest those foods. So when you start introducing other foods, and they might be healthy foods, but you might experience an adverse reaction, and it might make you feel really bad. And some people will call this detoxing, but the detoxing can also be to an extent where you feel really sick. And now this is not really something that you would probably want to experience. And I'm telling you that might be because, you know, the bacteria that are in there are like, I don't want this type of food. I can't do anything with this. And what it will also do at that point is those bacteria will start to scream at your brain, give me back the old foods. And this is obviously where it's hard for a lot of people to keep going into the right direction when they want to change something. It's because, you know, our body is alive. The bacteria in our gut are alive. And they do communicate with the brain. This is also the beauty of it though. And a lot of researchers right now are, you know, diving into this realm because they're discovering that it is a brain as well. And our bacteria in our gut communicate with our brain. So this is the fine line that we have to walk and that we have to consider. So I really want you to reflect on this and think about this, is that the bacteria in your gut are asking your brain for certain foods. And this is also where cravings come from. So when I say to start listening to your body, I don't mean to give in to every craving, because some cravings might be formed obviously from, you know, non-healthy food choices that we have sustained for a certain amount of time. And sometimes your cravings are based on a lack of a certain nutrient. For example, if I lack magnesium, your body might be asking for chocolate because that's a food it knows. And, you know, the bacteria in your gut are like, oh, you give me chocolate. So this is where you can see the relationship between those two things. Now, you can obviously binge on chocolate at that point, but there are obviously healthier choices. And I'm not saying you shouldn't eat chocolate at all. I'm just saying, like, obviously you want to eat a diverse amount of food. So when we want to invite change into our diet, do it slowly. And be aware of the fact that, you know, you have to change your microbiome. You have to start building up those good bacteria again that are also able to digest the healthier foods. Now, one thing that you might have heard of a lot are prebiotics and probiotics. So these are two things that will help you form and maintain a healthy gut microbiome. Now, what I want to say about that, I want to shortly touch on that as well, is that a lot of people take supplements for this. And I'm not necessarily saying there's anything wrong with that. I just want to point out that we can also get pre and probiotics from healthy whole foods. So if you want to go down that road, it might take you a little bit more work, or you're able to buy it somewhere around you. But for example, a probiotic can be a sauerkraut, so a fermented food. Now, there's a lot of different types of fermented food. Sauerkraut is one of my favorites because it's easy to make, it's cheap to make, and it's super healthy. Right, and it feeds your body with the right bacteria. Now, whenever you introduce a fermented food with a lot of bacteria in it to your body, do it slowly. Okay, so again, just start with a little bit each day. And if you notice that your body is responding well and it's able to handle it, then start increasing the amount a little bit. Now, this is a super healthy, natural way to invite the healthy bacteria into your body that will help you process the more healthy foods. Now, the prebiotics sometimes can seem a little bit more challenging. So prebiotics are the foods that probiotics, so the actual bacteria, feed on. And a couple of sources that have worked very well for me is sweet potato. So eating sweet potato, and especially cooled down sweet potato, is really good for your gut. Another thing is chicory root. Now, chicory root, some of you might know it, some of you might not. And it has become a bit more popular as a coffee substitute. So it's like chopped up, roasted chicory root. It's an actual root of a plant, of a flowering plant, that is very medicinal as well. And this chicory root is like a perfect prebiotic fiber. Now, you can make a tea out of this, which is a really strong dark tea that some people use as a substitute for coffee, but it also has a really good effect on your gut. Now, one tip about that's very personal to me, but maybe somebody that's watching has the same thing, then this is for you. I struggle with constipation issues from time to time, and chicory root tea actually works wonders for that. So it really helps with getting things moving. So just as a side note. And then the third thing that really helps for me too is eating oats in the morning. So those are just some personal, foods that really help my body. Now, that's the important thing, is to really start observing and listening to your body and what agrees with you. Now, yes, this can be quite the journey, but it's also super interesting, and you will start to notice how much more you start building an intimate relationship with food. Super nice side effect, gratitude. Is you will notice that you will become so much more grateful for the food that you're eating. And start noticing that, yes, we are what we eat. It has a significant immediate effect on how we feel, on how we act and behave. It's wonderful. It's a wonderful exploration. So that. Let me think, is there anything else that I'm forgetting right now? Like, I don't want to make this video too long. I see I'm almost already at half an hour. So I just want to one more time say that, it's totally doable to find your own healthy diet. And just with these few tips that I gave in this video, I think that would already give you a really good start on how to start thinking about it, how to make certain choices, and what to pay attention to. Now, when your gut microbiome starts to change, you will see really good results, and you will start to feel good, and you will start to recognize which foods you can eat and which you don't. For example, to give one more illustration, is that I've stayed at an ashram for a while, and they were serving an Ayurvedic diet. Now, an Ayurvedic diet is in general considered a very healthy, clean diet. So it's also used a lot to detox. And for me, though, a lot of rice was served in that diet, and rice just does not agree with me. And I've tried it several times. I've experimented with it a lot, and it doesn't agree with me. After a few days of eating rice, I feel completely miserable, and I start bloating and everything, and it's not a food for me. So this is just to show you that no matter how many people tell you that a certain food is healthy, experience it for yourself, right? Because your body has to feel good on the food you eat, and not anybody else's body. It's your body. So just please listen to that. And just take into account that there's a little transition period there where your gut microbiome is changing, and initially you might not feel that good on healthy foods. So slowly start changing your diet, and then start experimenting with things and see what agrees with you and what doesn't. So this is the best advice that I could possibly give you right now about food. I hope it makes you think. I hope it inspires you, and it has given you some great value. So for now, I'm gonna end this video. If you like this video, please subscribe to my channel and give me a thumbs up. Hit the bell icon so you get notified, because I'm planning on doing a lot of follow-up videos around food, just because I have over a decade of experience, and I just feel like it's time to start sharing that and for other people to benefit from. So if you have any questions or suggestions, or what would you like me to talk about next, please put it in the comments below. I will read it and I will reply back, and I will see if there are any suggestions on on what to make my next videos on, if I can do that for you. And yeah, I hope you follow me along on my journey, and it will bring you something of value. For now, I'm gonna say goodbye and hope to see you in my next video. Ciao.